There you go. So yeah, so I really enjoyed just talking about chords and experiencing ways that we could use them. Now the other thing about it is, like I was just mentioning, prior to that, there's first, second, third, fourth, fifth, and whatever positions. There's actually only like three or four. Um, but they also have what's called inversions, which is basically the same chord utilizing the same notes in different positions. Now, the thing about inversions are that not all inversions work. Okay. So if you are inverting a chord by simply choosing the same note on a different fret, for example, yeah, with multiple fingers, making what would be considered that one chord, it might not always match, you know. So one of the coolest things about that is learning how to identify the sound, you know. Now I mentioned the ukulele chord book, and I think Pete showed it, right? That's a very, very, very great book to have. One of the coolest things that I found helpful is that, yes, right there, Trish, is the fact that they actually, like Uncle Roy will put, um, what do you call that? Like expressions, like sadness, emotions, like today we have what emoticons, right? To kind of like identify how you're feeling. But then they have, hi Nat, long time no see. But they have these emotions that's tied to these chords. And so he does that in that book. All right. So we're going to go through this book real quick, and then we're just going to talk about the minor chords today, because minor chords are pretty common. Everybody uses them, right? But then what type of sound? So within that book, he identifies minor chords with sadness. All right. If you listen to that type of chord, yeah, it's a kind of a gloomy chord. You know what I mean? But it is a fantastic transition piece. You know what I mean? It takes you from major to major really nicely. And if you're talking about Hawaiian music, that is when the relative minor comes into play. And that's where the relative minor will replace the major chord. So in the key of F, for example, it's F, and then the relative minor is D minor, right? And so when we want to spice up and jazz up Hawaiian music, we will replace the major chord, which is an F, and then we will replace it with a D minor or a D minor 7 for that added little bit of whoop, lift. Okay, so when you turn it into a seventh chord, there's much more of a bright edge to it. There's much more of a shimmer, is what I like to call it. That's the way I like to.
Jonah,
Yes.
I think that in throwing out the term relative minor, there
Hmm.
might be some people who have no idea what that means.
That's right. That's right. And so we're gonna get into
Okay.
what a relative minor is. Yeah.
Okay.
So
Thank you.
so yeah, yeah, yeah. But then just understanding the fact that there's what we call a relative minor, yeah, and then it can become a replacement chord. All right, for your major. And now a lot of us here tend to like Hawaiian music, yeah. Raise your hand if you guys like Hawaiian music. All right. So some of your favorite Hawaiian artists will actually utilize that relative minor, yeah, in replacing that major chord. And so we'll get into that in a minute. Okay. So I figured I kind of like this whole chord situation, and it's not totally common. So I figure why not use it? Okay. And just continue this conversation. So we'll probably be doing this for a little while. Okay. So today we're going to discuss minor chords. All right. And what is the most, let me think. what would be what would be an easy way for you to decipher what is your minor chord? Okay. So how many of us have done the ukulele GPS? Now we're going to do a grassroots version. Okay. Now the grassroots version is a layman's way of doing it, but it is going to be a whole process for you because I want you to understand the process, right? So it might not even seem correct at times, but I'm just going to give you four simple chords, right? And then you're going to transition or transpose these chords in whatever key you want, right? And you'll get that on your own. We'll cover this next week as well. But those chords, I'm going to show you in this pattern what is your relative minor, all right, and what you're going to do with it. Okay? So it's like a families of chords approach. Okay? You can do the circle of the fifths because that's basically what it is. Most people use it as that, identifying a family of chords. But I'm just going to give you the basic four. Okay? Because music is patterns, it doesn't change. So no matter how you go around trying to find that family or that specific sequence of chords, you will always end up with the same thing. Okay? So I'm just going to give it to you. All right? Okay, so we're going to start with the key of F. Okay, let me go ahead and spotlight. Okay, so if you guys got something to write on, take a note. Now the four chords will be F, D minor, B flat, and C7. Okay, we're going to keep it very simple today. All right. We don't have to get all fancy pantsy, not yet. We'll start at the bottom. All right. Okay, you guys got it? F, D minor, B flat, C7. All right. Now, in this pattern, the relative minor is your D minor. Okay. Now, if you transpose this to the key of G, it'll be G, E minor, C, D7. Okay.
Say that again.
G, E minor, C, D7. So the pattern is going to just replicate up and down the scale. All right. And we worked on transposing before.
And what key was that?
That was the key of G. We just did G.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And so this is based on the ukulele GPS lesson that we've did prior to. Okay. All right. So if you guys have been there, so you guys should be kind of familiar. But anyway, we're going to work with the F, D minor, B flat, and C7. All right. Now, if I did a Hawaiian song, listen to the way it sounds. Okay. So that's your basic F, right? So it's a very straight, standard way of doing things, okay? Very simple. Now, let's go ahead and see what it would sound like with the minor chord. You hear that difference? So this D minor chord, it really lends a whole lot of character right there. You know what I mean? It's much more on the brighter side. So it doesn't matter exactly what you do with the song itself, but just simply repeating or adding a new chord. So that means you can take your basic F, right? So again, listening. So let's go ahead and strum G7, C7, and F. And that's our vamp. Let me put the chords in the chat. My iPad is dead. I was gigging last night. So I'm going to put the chords in the chat. All right, and you guys are gonna follow along. Now, I hope you guys are okay with this style of teaching because this is the way we do it here in Hawaii. We make you listen and follow. Okay. So I'm putting in the chat the chord sequence that we're going to use. Okay. Now, if you guys are looking at that in the chat, open up your chat, just watch those chords. We're going to do a 4 count for every single one. All right. Now, every time you see an F, we have 3 Fs in this sequence. Okay. Your job is to figure out which one would you like to use a D minor in. And then I want you to experience for yourself what sound you enjoy. Okay, so where can you put into play the relative minor? Okay, all right. So again, we're just starting at the grassroots area and we're just putting it to use. And then later on, we can start defining more and more what is what. Okay, one of the things that I've learned as a musician is that it's so much more easier to first play and do it, and then add a little bit of substance, and a little bit of education in the background. Yeah. So we're gonna do a real basics. 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 G7 C7 F2 ready and 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 C7 3 4 5 6 7 8. Okay, so all these Fs, you have an option. What is your relative minor? It's D minor. Now, where would you like to fit it in? Okay, so I want you guys to kind of play around with the melody. All right, and then I want you guys to come on. We're gonna talk about this after, and then how did it make you feel? What did you like about it? This is the part of music that a lot of people don't get to talk about much. We're too busy learning the basics or like the fundamentals, when in reality, to me, it's the creativity part. You know what I mean? Because you want to make what you learn relevant and you want to maintain it. And one of the ways that I found it to be most maintained is when it's relevant by you doing it. Okay? All right, so here we go. So 4 counts on the vamp. All right, we're gonna do it twice. And then the F B flat, we're gonna do 8 counts. So 4 4. All right, on the verse. Here we go. G7, 1 2 ready and 1 2 3 4 C7 2 4 F 2 3 4. Okay, G7 one more time. G 2 3 4 C7 2 3 4 F. Here we go. Ready? 1 2 ready and 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 C7 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 G 2 3 4 C 2 3 4 F 2 3 4. Okay, we're gonna do it one more time. Here we go. And F 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 B flat 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 B flat 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 F 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 C7 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 1 2 ready and stop. Now, did you guys notice the difference between relative minor to a B flat versus a relative minor to a C7. Did you guys notice the difference there? No? Go ahead and unmute. Let's talk about it because I want you guys to be
I don't understand the question.
like, is there a difference in the way it sounds from a D minor to a B flat versus a D minor to a C7? Which one do you like more?
Jonah, I would like more to a C7.
Yes, very much. I agree.
Was more.
I agree. It feels better, right?
It feels better, yes.
Definitely. Laurie?
Oh, I was gonna say, like from the D minor, it's actually kind of comes from higher, like a higher
Okay.
pitch than like the F does.
That's right. That's right. It lends a whole new sound to what you're trying to do, right? You know, and the problem is, you know, like just discovering it for ourselves, we have to learn how to explain that, right? And so this is the part of learning that I'm trying to encourage, right? The creative side, you know, but also putting it with the basic knowledge of a relative minor, right? So we're swapping out a major chord with the minor in the sequence. Yeah, very simple. But which one do you like most? That's the question. Yeah.
The C7 is brighter.
Yes,
It's
very much.
Whereas the other one is a little lower.
Yes, exactly. So you can create a whole different feeling just by utilizing that minor into the C7, right? You know, where you're right. It has a much more lower sound, much more mellower when you're going from a D minor to a B flat. Right? Is that correct way of explaining it? Yeah, Chris?
Yeah, I prefer the D minor as the transition to the B flat, the F into that flow of chord, the F D minor to the B flat. That's what sounds better to me. I don't like the D minor to the C7. It doesn't seem right. For the D minor, I want to go D minor 7 G7.
Right. Right. But then that's not really replacing the major chord though. That's the thing, right? So, and the thing is the mindset here is replacing the major chord with the minor, right?
Yeah.
Where as opposed to using it as a passing chord, which is what.
Yes, and I'm used to it as the ice cream chords, as the typical 1 6 4 5 progression,
Yes.
sort of, you know.
Right.
That style of music from the 60s, that's where I see that as opposed to substitution.
Yes. Yeah.
I like the D minor to a D minor 7 to a C7 to F. I think that just sounds really cool.
Mm-hmm. Right. And that lends a much more brighter shimmer at the end of that chord, especially the D minor 7. You know what I mean? So, and that's kind of the whole point here, right? What feels good to you? Yes, Laurie.
Oh, I was just gonna say, so like when we were doing the chord progression, I was like going like rocking. I think they call it rocking. So like I would go like between a D minor, and like just by taking my finger off,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
which was kind of fun.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, and it lends a whole different feeling again. You know what I mean? So you can take something like this and broaden the basic sound, right? So like take a listen to this song. You guys know this song, I hope, Van Morrison. Brown Eyed Girl. Hey, where did we go? Days when the rains came. Now this I'm using the basic major chord, which is an F. Now what would it sound like if I added a D minor, right? Much more mellower, a heavier sound, right? Now let's see what it will sound like if I start singing. Hey, where did we go? Days when the rains came. Down in a hollow, playing a new game. Laughing and a running, hey, hey, hey. Skipping and a jumping. So it doesn't necessarily match right away, but there's potential there. My creative mind says, I kind of like the heaviness. that's created here versus using a major chord, which is much more lighter sounding, right? So listen to this F again. Now listen to this minor. There's kind of a dark change there, right? Hey, where did we go? There's when this came. So it does do something to the melody. It does change the emotion. You know what I mean? Now the question is, do you like it? You know what I mean? Do you like the sound? Some people is maybe, maybe not, right? So it's that instance that you can kind of decide for yourself, like, okay, how do I use this? All right. Okay. Now, does this make sense? Is this kind of working out for us? Yeah. Like understanding the way these chords make us feel, right? And then that's what a relative minor does. It changes the whole makeup of a song. Okay, you know, be a little bit more creative here. Now, in terms of
I'm feeling a bit like I got dropped into a calculus class. That wasn't my subject. So what I'm supposed to be doing is changing the F to a D minor. Is that?
ways?
Okay.
Yes. So that's what we're doing. So we're talking about Hawaiian music. Honestly, we're talking about Hawaiian music now. And one of the things that I'm teaching you guys is how to use a relative minor in Hawaiian music, but it applies everywhere. Yeah, because our genres are vast. Like Chris was talking about 60s pop, you know, and that's the standard: F, D minor, B flat, and C. You know what I mean? Or even 50s stuff. You know what I mean? But the whole point is coloring up the basics. How can we make it better? How can we make it a little bit different? Yeah, we all have different personalities. Sometimes we like ballads, right? Sometimes we like more upbeat stuff. So this is one of the ways we can kind of like add a little bit of extra something. Yeah. Or how's about taking, well, we won't get into that, but we'll just stick with the F and D minor for now. Okay. But there are other chords. Instead of doing a B flat 6 or a G minor 7, you know, you can replace that with a regular standard G minor. You know what I mean? You know, it changes the whole feel of what you're trying to play. Okay. So here it's taking a melody and utilizing it and deciding for yourself whether you like it or not. That's really all this is. You know what I mean? Okay. And being a little bit more experimental with what we're playing. How many of us can play a bunch of songs? Pretty good amount of us, right? We can play quite a few songs. Now, have you guys ever thought about utilizing something like this in your song? Not always, right? So this is all this is. This is taking a little bit something that you can apply to what you've learned already and hopefully make it better or not. You can be like, yeah, maybe not this song. You know what I mean? This doesn't work here. You know what I mean? And that's part of the learning process, being able to be creative, how to be open to different things. You know, what makes you feel good when you play? When you incorporate stuff like this, when you practice this, it makes it more fun. You guys want to do it more. You guys want to experiment more. And you guys, you guys just be surprised how well you sound after. All right. So that's really all it is. Okay, Mary? So it's just giving us another way, and we're discovering it through minor chords today. All right. Now let's talk about different ways you can utilize this minor chord. Okay. Now another minor chord. Boom, fret 5. Okay, technically this is a D minor 7. And again, in context of Hawaiian music, all right? And I'm always going to reference Hawaiian music for today's class, purely because I know we all like it. When you guys listen to Hawaiian music, you're going to recognize this chord. Okay? How many of you guys ever heard the song Lepe Ula Ula by Na Palapalai? Have you guys ever heard of that? It's probably one of the most popular songs out there. Okay, so if you're into falsetto, which is pretty much the core of Hawaiian music nowadays, you're gonna hear these minor chords especially. Okay, so you can actually take this D minor, and you can change it. You can utilize these minor chords, okay, to replace your F. So let's go back to our chat, okay, reading the chords. Now, those Fs, right? Go ahead and choose a D minor. You have either this one, D minor 7, by adding your ring here on the 3rd, or you have fret 5. Okay. Okay, here we go. 1, 2, G7 and G7, C7, F, 2, 3, 4, G7, C7, F, 2, 3, 4, F, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, B flat, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, F, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, B flat, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, F, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, C7, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Very good. Here we go, and F, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, B flat, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, F, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, B flat, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, B flat, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, C7, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, F2, ready and stop. Okay, so that adds a whole different sound, right? Okay, so this is what we're gonna do. I'm gonna play the basics. You are gonna play the minors, all right? Now, when we're playing together, all right, when we're jamming, all right, we're gonna do the both chords together, and you guys are gonna see how cool it sounds. It actually sounds really nice, all right? So now we're building layers at this point, okay? So we already discovered what our relative minor is in the key of F. It's a D minor. So I'm gonna play the basics. You are gonna go ahead and choose which relative minor you want to use and when you want to use them. Okay? Are we done with that? Now I want you guys to take a listen to what you guys are creating. And then we're going to talk about how it blends or how it doesn't blend. All right? What you guys like when you listen to them together, or what you don't like when you listen to them together. Okay? All right? So this is all part of music. Everybody has different tastes. We all have different likings. Or maybe something is so brand new that we are not really familiar with the sound, so we don't know how to decide whether or not, if we like it or not, basically. Okay? So I'm going to do the basics. You guys are going to incorporate some minor 7s here and there, and you guys decide for yourselves which ones you like. When did it sound best? Before a B flat or a C7, and you're going to tell me which one between the minors did you like the most. This one or this one. Okay? All right, so we got some options here. We got a lot going on. So, yay.
Can't that bar chord on the 5th fret, can't that also be an F
Yep.
6?
Yep.
Because you're adding the 6 to it, FAC with the D.
Yes. Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
just curious.
Yep. No, that's exactly it, right? Same chord, 2 different names.
Right, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, you get them. Oh, I like that kind. Okay, here we go. We're going to do the vamp one time, and then we're going to get into the playing. Okay? Do you guys need to see my chords or no? No need. You guys okay, right? I'll be calling it out. I'm going to remove the spotlight so I can see all of you. Okay, here we go. So again, I'm gonna stay straight with the straight Fs. You're gonna decide for yourself when and what D minor you want to use. Okay, here we go. 1, 2, ready, and 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Ready, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. B flat. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. F. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. B flat. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. F. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. C7. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. F. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. B flat. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. F. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. B flat. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. F. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. C7. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. F. 2, ready, and stop. Did it sound pretty cool on your end? Did the minors match with the F so? Or was it a different sound that you're not familiar with and you're like, maybe not for me. You know what I mean? You know, so what did you like or did not like about it?
Jonah, I prefer the rocking sound and doing the minor on the B flat as well. Though. Just
Yep.
that
Yeah.
that I don't know, it's a style I guess that you hear is to.
Yeah. Good. That's a good one. I like that. Yeah, that's right. Anybody else? Did anybody think it matched? Raise your hand. Nobody thought it matched? Oh, Elaine, you gotta unmute. Unmute.
I liked it. I liked it
Oh.
very much.
So you
I
thought
like
that
the way the sound combination works.
Nice. Okay, sounds good. All right. So what else? Pete, go for it, bro.
Well, I thought it matched, but I have to admit, while I was still in the car before I came on the video, I was watching the professor there and how he centered around that fifth fret. So
Mm-hmm.
I was trying to play all those inversions at the fifth fret
Yeah.
with the F and the B flat and everything else. So then when you're already there, then that D minor then fits perfectly.
Yeah. Very much.
That's why I played it that way.
And that's the thing, right? So go ahead, Chris. What are you gonna say?
It's just about playing the exact same things up in a different position, and sometimes when you're playing in that position around that fifth fret, you move your finger up to the seventh, and you've got your G7 as well, and your C7. They're all there. It's a question of shifting where it is and what the high notes are, and that's where sometimes the change from from a full D minor to the D minor 7, and because it's nipped from the F, they sound better together when they're played up that way because of the shape and where the higher notes are in the structure of the chord. Because
That's right.
They all sort of all fitting. You go from the F to the D minor by changing strings, and then put a finger on to the D minor to make it the B flat, and jump it over to make the C7. It's just about recognizing those sort of places where you can do similar things with shapes that you normally play down there.
That's right. Now, in the context of Hawaiian music, and again, this is for those of us who are Hawaiian music junkies. Okay. Now you take this relative minor and then you add those multi-level strum patterns that I like to teach, right? And then that's when the color really starts to pop even more. You know what I mean? So, for example, this is the song Lepe Ula Ula that I was telling you guys about, right? Lepe Ula Lepe ula ula, lepe You know, so when it comes to replacing your chords, it really takes you to a whole different level, right? Like pitch wise alone, you know what I mean? Like not realizing, oh shucks, I have to sing high, you know what I mean? And this early in the morning, this is not the time to sing high. But then it lends a whole different feel, right? From what is original. So here's the original again. Lepe ula ula, lepe okamu, lewadulina, ayakapele. Pretty safe. The chords are very safe, very straight. Now let's go with the minors. Lepe ula ula, lepe okamu, lewadulina, ayakapele. There's that small little nudging up to the sky, right? It forces you to add energy. So from a sad, gloomy chord, you know, and simply by adding a seventh to that minor, it really starts pushing you closer and closer to the ceiling. You know what I mean? It creates an energy in your playing that you have to match vocally if you're a singer. You know what I mean? But it also just adds so much texture into what is mellow, calm, smooth, and then do the minor, heavier, right? Add your minor seventh, then all of a sudden there's more energy in that. Okay, all right. So I think I really like doing these types of classes for now. If you guys are cool with that, we'll just discover more and more chords and how we can play them.
Jonah, do you mind if I show people what I've thought of after we stopped the last lesson?
Go for it, brother.
About the diminished.
Yes, go.
Yeah. Because people say, you know, how do you get from the normal seventh to the diminished?
Yes.
And depending on what chord you're looking for, some of them are really easy. If you've got a G7.
Hang on, let me spotlight you, bro.
If you've got a normal G7, you want to have the diminished seventh.
Yes.
Then you, on the G7, the root note G is an open string. So if you just take all of your fingers now and move them back one fret, so you end up with 0, 1, 0, 1, that's your G7 diminished.
Yes.
Because the root didn't move. You can do the same with E7, because on the E7 chord, the root note is open. So when you slide those back, you end up at E7 E diminished seventh, and it's exactly the same as the G diminished seventh,
right,
where it started. If, however, you start with a D7 and you need to diminish it, when you flatten them all, you actually flatten the root as well. So that D was flattened, so you have to put your finger back on it, and there's your D7 diminished. Or if you play your D7 up here, your root is now on the A string, so if you flatten the whole chord, that's not the diminished until you put the actual root back, and there's your D diminished seventh. So no matter which chord you take, if you flatten each note, because that's what diminished does, and then put the root back, you can get any of your diminished wherever you know your shape. You know, if you know that's your G7, and your root note's here on the E string, so if you flatten them all, that's the diminished if you put the actual G back, and there's the other form of the G diminished seventh. So it's sort of it's just an easier way of getting, because most people know all of their ordinary sevenths,
right,
and they know it in particular form. You might know E7 there on the 4th fret, so you flatten them all, but then you have to put the root back, and there it is.
Yeah.
So you can find every shape with just one little step backwards and decide whether you needed to put the root back or not.
Yeah. See, and that's cool. And so, and that also goes back into what we were saying last week. It depends on what way you're looking at it, right? So you can go from a G to an E, and that would best explain it. Like for me, again, like that, to me, it's all about functional use, right? Whereas Chris is explaining note for note what the purpose is and how you do it, because yes, diminish means to flatten, and that's why they have the subtract sign there. Okay.
And that's what I thought. Oh well, let's relate that and see, can I take the one I know and flatten it and make that shape just to confirm. But in the end, all you want to say is I've got that little diamond shape and I just stick it where I want it and read off the notes to know what I'm doing.
Yes, exactly.
So the two aspects of it.
That's right. And so even for placement, right? We talked about what is a familiar chord to make the placement. You know what I mean? But then what Chris is talking about is the actual notes that make up finish. You know what I mean? Which is super cool. You know what I mean? So instead of just understanding and knowing the basic shapes and understanding how they move up in the fret, which is a functional, simple layman's way of doing it, Chris is helping us explain notes, the purpose, right?
I'm the one of those that someone shows me something, I think, why did that work like that?
Exactly. You know what I mean?
It's just another side of music. It's not the great practical stuff you do on stage, but it's sort of that curiosity thing that sort of someone's piqued your curiosity about, and they did something. Like you were playing a chord there today, and I was looking at you. You were throwing that chord in. I was thinking, well, I know that's C7. So why? So that's a C9 he's throwing in there. It's just sort of not a chord that I would see. But I was watching your embellishment. Sort of, you were between your chords. You were dropping a note and putting it back, doing the sus, and sort of. I was trying to understand your color by looking at your fingers.
Yes. And see, and that's the thing, right? And that's kind of why I love the professor. And I love talking like this with him, and even Elaine will bring up fantastic points about this stuff. You know what I mean? So to help, for me, my goal is to simplify, right? And make you catch it. And then I like going where Chris is at. You know what I mean? And then understanding why things are. Right? What makes the sky blue? Reflection of the water. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. There's real scientific understanding behind these things, So I love to talk story with Chris about this kind of stuff. And that is a fantastic way of looking at it. You know what I mean? That was great. Thanks, Abra.
I hadn't looked at it that way until we were discussing it, and people wanted to go, well, how do I find that? What does it even mean?
Exactly.
And so it made me look at what I knew about diminish to go,
And it's a pattern. So what Chris just explained to us, it's a pattern, it's a function. In other words, that is the root of music. That's what I like to focus on, right? How can it replicate itself all the time? Let's not get mixed up in the million names. Like he just gave us a perfect example of why it's a G and an E, right? Because it's what way you're looking at the chord as the root, right? He's doing an E7, therefore he's assuming it's an E. He's doing a G, he's flattening that, he's assuming it's a G. But in reality, it's the same chord, right? One chord, two different names. So it's all a matter of perspective and how you're looking at it. If you're looking at it from left or right, up or down, and you can always look at music from multiple directions and always end up in the same place. You know what I mean? And that's the most amazing thing about music. Oh, thanks, Professor. Yeah. So that is really cool. So I really enjoy these talks on chords. And last week already, because we started the week before, right, on diminishes, and then gave you an example of how to use them. Give me songs, like throw songs out there to me, and then we can figure out how we can incorporate these chords that we're learning. Because you guys don't, we don't really learn these chords commonly. No matter what instructor you're with, a lot of them don't always teach this type of stuff unless it's in a one-on-one basis. You know what I mean? Because it takes much more time and energy, 1, to explain, 2, to teach, and then 3, to figure out how to implement it in what you're doing. Yeah. So if you do a lot of solos, improv stuff, yeah, you're gonna find this stuff. If you're into jazz, you're gonna find this. You know what I mean? You're gonna find a lot of this stuff. Now, if you're doing Hawaiian music, the common Hawaiian music that you hear outside of Hawaii, you won't find this. But the Hawaiian music that I'm showing you guys, which is the cultural down home rooted stuff, you will find all these chords. You know what I mean? These chords are all hidden in a transition, in a walk, in a pass through. You know what I mean? Like Chris is mentioning, he's watching my C9s and how it's moving about. You know, he goes from a C augmented. I did a C9, and then I also did a C13, all in one pass. You know, and so those are really cool things to learn. So I figure, why not we focus on chords and just discover chords and how we can use them. And then again, you guys know a million songs already. Some of you guys are my Patreon students and you guys already have those types of songs. You also have the stuff that you've been learning away from me, before me, or even on your own downtime, right? So now take these chords and see like, okay, what can I do to make what I already know better? Or maybe you discover a chord like, wow, I like this minor 7. I think I really do like changing the major chord, and then implement it in your stuff, whether it be rock, jazz, pop, don't care, try it. It's going to sound amazing. For Hawaiian music and Tahitian music, for example, we use a lot of minor 7s, you know? So one of them, and again, for us, it's the strumming pattern, right? Right? So it has this really nice upbeat, you know, Pacifica kind of a sound. So it's a really big booming song. Now let me swap it out with minors. I added some edge to that, some bright shimmer right there. So it just changes your major and it just kind of sends you to a whole different space right there with not a lot of work. You know what I mean? You know, it just kind of broadens your basic sound. So if one gentleman is doing this, then I am going to be doing this. If they're doing basic strums like, then I'm going to be doing with that minor 7. You know, and so it has this really percussive sound that starts to develop, yeah, as we go into the melody. Okay, so we're going to keep on playing around with chords till further notice, and as long as you guys enjoyed, let's keep going. If you guys have any questions, shoot us some emails and we can work on them together with the chords and play with them. All right, in Patreon, I just put up yesterday's class for the Hemele Hawaii. We started learning Hene Hene Koaka. So we went into the intro for that song. So you'll find that in Patreon. That thing is up and ready to roar. And then we'll get into the song next week, Friday, for Hemele Hawaii. Okay, but other than that, did you guys have fun? Did you guys like that lesson? Yeah, if you think it's a little bit too far over your head, just let us know, you know what I mean? And then we'll bring it down even more, you know what I mean? But just remember that this is the way I find to be the most effective. First, you learn it, okay? First, you play it. First, you do it. And then later on, you can add some education behind that, all right? Yeah, but it's harder to put it in your mind first and translate it through your fingers. It's always easier to use your fingers and then put it into your mind after. Yeah, it's backwards with music. You know, a lot of your great musicians that you might listen to, you know, they first started playing education, like Chris right now, like he became curious after that class. So he took what he already started working on, and then he was like, hey, wait, there's got to be more. Curiosity came after. All right. And that's the way music becomes relevant. It stays with you forever. It becomes internalized, and it's hard for you to lose. Okay. So I always say, try to stay out of here first. Let's do it here, and then we'll figure it out after. That's a real musician's mindset. Okay. We never learn from, reading, hearing, thinking first. We always do it. And we always emphasize what we enjoy the most, right? And then after that, we start discovering why we like it so much, what makes it so fun to us, why do we enjoy the sound. Okay, so it's a mind flip, right? Okay, don't overthink. I always say that, don't overthink. Okay, but other than that, hey, you guys are fantastic. Okay, love you guys. Have a great week. I will see you guys soon. Take care. Bye, guys. Aloha.
Bye.
Goodbye, Jonah. Thank you.
Bye. Aloha.